Hi, I wanted to share a little bit more about this number 5 that Angela had us on, step 5. So this was the apply MVC. And so I showed you how that could work and in another video. But when I was testing it just now, before I did step 6, I noticed there was a defect. So I want to walk you through that and show you how I troubleshot that. So what I found out when I ran this code, let me run it again. So I'm currently in the storybrain.swift, and I see a fork in the road. So you can see this is story 0, and this is story 1, and this is story 2. So if I take a left, I see a tiger. So now I'm in story 1. And if I click on shout for help, nothing changes, because really that's the end of the story. If you remember, what she had was this very kind of boring story that was about just taking a left, and then you see a tiger and you have 2 options, but then nothing happens. So that's the way it's supposed to work, is it just ends with that first choice. But you see that if I hit this second choice, play dead, it switches to number 2. So this is story 0, story 1, story 2. So I thought, oh gosh, I made a mistake here, and I was trying to figure out what happened. And as I was exploring the code, first I went to the view controller, and I see that the update UI is here, and the choice made, this is where we're actually reading in which button got selected. And so then I call this story brain next story. So I thought, okay, so that's where that method is, over here in the story brain. So I'll go over here and look at the next story. And then I set a breakpoint here by just clicking on this number 39, and you see it now has a breakpoint. And so when I go through this code now, it will stop there and show me what's going on. So if I hit my restart button and then I hit take a left, you see we stop right here. And so now we've got some interesting stuff going on down here. So we can see that story number is self.story number is equal to 0, which is what we want. And if we click on, but we have current story being equal to stories, story number. So now if I click, the next thing I'm going to do is just click into this. So I'll step into, and then I go to this if statement. So current story is equal to story 1, story 0, I mean. So story 0 is, you see a fork in, you take a left and take a right. Those are the 2 choices. So you can see those reflected down here in this debug window. And so I'm assuming that since I chose choice 1, I'm going to step into this change where I change story number to be equal to the second one, story number 1. So let me step into that. So I'll click on this, step into, and yeah, sure enough, now it's story number equal 1. And so if I click on this again, now I'm going to do that. So so now you see story number is 1. So that's what we wanted. So when it executes through this whole process, it will actually change, and we'll see this, you see a tiger, shout for help, etc. So I'm just going to flow through that by clicking this continue program execution. And now you see we're looking at story 1. So, and so if I click on shout for help, I get back in here and I see, okay, I'm going to step into that. And if it's if user choice equals stories choice 1, then it's going to make story number be equal to 1. And that's, so if we flow through with that, we're going to see no change. So that's still locked in story 1. But if we click on number 2, option 2, now we're going to notice that the user choice was choice 2, so then we're going to switch the story number to 2. So let's walk into this. And we're going to skip over, and you see it else if. So then we're going to step into that, and now we're setting story number to be 2. So when we step into that, now you see story numbers 2. So when we flow through that, we're going to switch over to have this be set to 2, which isn't what I intended. So I'm going to flow through that, and now you see we're in this story 2. So I thought, well, what's going on? What thing can I actually grab onto that will test to make sure that we don't change anything? So let me restart. Test to make sure we don't change anything unless we are in 0. So what I did is I went through and I just set that breakpoint again, and I hit take a left, and I saw, okay, so right now we have this self.story number. So basically self.story number equals 0. And so you can see I commented out this code that I created, but if we can do something where we test first to see if self.story number equals 0, then allow this code to be executed, we will prevent the unintended consequence of changing the story based on whether somebody chooses a button or not. They first have to meet the condition that they're in story number 0, which satisfies this logic. So if they're story number 0, this one, then if they choose this button, they'll go here, but then there's no other options. Or if they choose the second button, then they'll go here and there's no other options. So I'm going to stop this code, and then I'm going to delete this breakpoint, and I'm going to uncomment this code that I commented out. So now let's stop this. Let's run it again. And just for fun, let's go into this, set a breakpoint right there and go into that if statement. So you see a fork in the road, and you click on take a left. And first they're checking to see if self.story number equals 0, and right now we know it does. So then we'll step into that code and we can see, a user choice. So now it's allowing us to check that, and it's going to change it to 1 and so forth. So we'll just go and proceed. So now we see the tiger. Now before, when I press the second button, it would cause us to go to story 2 regardless. So now I'll press that button. And now you see that there's a test going on to see if self.story number equals 0. But you see story number equals 1. So let's try and step into that code. It jumps right out. So nothing's going to get changed. So I just wanted to share this piece with you of a way to change your code so that it will conform to the requirements that Angela set forth in this chart here. So that's it. Hope this was fun.